Hello, my lovely viewers. Welcome again to Matrices. It is your presenter Jefferson, and today we are still on the topic solving simultaneous equations that involves three variables. Now, in our last video, we talked about simultaneous equation, involving three variables using an eliminating method. But today, I shall be introducing to you guys how you can use matrix method in solving simultaneous equations involving three variables or three unknown. Now, at the end of this example, you will be able to solve problems on simultaneous equations involving three variables using matrix method. So let's begin. Now, on the board, we have three equations. Now, the equation 1, equation 2, and equation 3. Now, equation 1 is m plus n minus p equal to 4. Equation 2 is m minus 2n plus 3p equal to minus 6. And equation 3 is 2n plus 3n plus p equal to 7. Now, you will notice that we have three variables present in these equations, which are m, n, and p. Now, how can we use matrix method in solving the values for m, n, and p? Now, without wasting time, you will notice that right now there is nothing matrix about these equations. So the first step that we're going to do is that we are going to bring out, the matrix in this equation. Like I told you in our last in solving simultaneous equation involving two variables using matrix method, there are some things that you must find before you can use matrix method. And I think the first step we're going to solve is change, and then the order is changing m, the order is changing n, and the order is changing p. And then when we have looked for changing m, changing n, and changing p, then we can find the values of m, n, and p using their formulas. So without wasting time, let us begin. Okay. Now, how do we bring out the matrix format in this equation? It's very simple. Simply take the coefficients of each variables. The coefficients of each variables. Now, by coefficients, I mean the number that a variable or the alphabet or the unknown carries. That is the meaning of coefficients. Now, if we begin with that, we're going to have something like this, okay? Alright, now the coefficient of n, which means the number that m is carrying here, is 1. Now the number n is carrying here is also 1. And the number p is carrying here is minus 1, because there's a negative sign, minus 1. Okay, now m also carries 1. Then n carries minus 2. Then p carries 3. And also, m carries the coefficient of 2. N the coefficient of 3, and p the coefficient of 1. Then you close your matrix. Now you ask, what are the variables involved in these equations? They are m, n, and p. So we introduce them. M, n, and p. They will close. And then, what are the constants? Now the constants are 4, minus 6, and 7. 4, minus 6, and 7. Now, you will notice that from these equations, I have represented them in a matrix format. Now, once you do this, what do you do next? Your first objective is to look for change, is to solve for change. And how did I say you solve for change? Is by taking the determinant of this matrix. Taking the determinant of this matrix. Now, let us begin. Solving for change. Now, taking the determinant of this matrix simply means the determinant of 1, 1, minus 1, 1, minus 2, 3, and 2, 3, 1. Now, this is the original what? The original elements in this matrix. But for you to, get the determinants, I'm going to teach you a method, you understand? Now, we are going to make, if you notice, we have 3 columns and we have 3 rows. Now, the first thing you are going to do is that you will make the numbers of columns to be 5 columns. And how would you make it to be 5 columns? By repeating the first 2 columns again. Okay, now the first column, which is 1, 1, 2, I will repeat again. 1, 1, 2. Okay, now my second column, I repeat again. 1, minus 2, and 3. Then you close. Now you will notice that I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 columns. Now please, when you are repeating the elements, you only repeat the first and the second element and not the third. No, don't repeat the third. Now that we now have 3 by 5 matrix, which is 3 rows and 5 columns, what do? This is how you solve for determinants. It becomes Now start multiplying diagonally 3, 3. Diagonally 3, 3. Now my first 3 combination here is 1 minus 2 and 1. That's my first 3 combination in a diagonal pattern. Now I can't multiply these 2 because why? They are just 2 elements and they're not up to 3. So you start with the first 3 elements in a diagonal pattern. Now 1 times minus 2 gives us minus 2. Minus 2 times 1 gives us minus 2. So I'll write minus 2 plus. Now the next 3 element that is in the diagonal pattern is 1, 3, 2. Now 1 times 3 gives us 3. 3 times 2 gives us 6. Now plus 6. Okay. Now my last 3 elements are minus 1, 1, 3. Now minus 1 times 1 gives us minus 1. And minus 1 times 3 gives us minus 3. Then you close your what? Your brackets. Minus, you open another bracket. Now from your right, take it again to the left. Now the first 3 elements diagonally from the right to the left is 1, 1, 1. Now 1 times 1 times 1 also gives us 1 plus. Now 1 times 3 gives us 9 plus. Minus 1 times minus 2 gives us 2. Because why? Minus times minus is plus. Now 2 times 2 gives us 4. Then you close. Now let us work with the numbers inside the bracket. Now, minus means you are owing, plus means you have or you paid. Now, when you are owing 2, and then you have 6 naira, which is the plus sign. Now, when you pay the 2 naira you are owing, you will be left with 4 naira. Now, that 4 naira minus 3 gives you 1. So, everything in this bracket becomes 1 minus. Now, 1 plus 9 gives us 10, and 10 plus 4 gives us 14. 1 minus 14. So, class, 1 minus 14 will give us minus 13. Now, why is it a negative answer? Because why? 14 is bigger than 1. You cannot subtract a bigger number from a smaller number. Otherwise, the answer becomes a negative answer. Okay, now, we have solved for change. Now, what is the next thing we're going to solve for now? We're going to solve for change in n. Now, how do you solve for change in n? Now, it's very simple. Change in n simply means replacing your m column with your constant and then find the determinants. Replacing your m column with your constant and then find the determinants. Now, the first column here is my m column because if you look at the equation, this is my first column, which is m. So any coefficient here belongs to m. So when you say change in m, it simply means remove this first column and give the constants there. So instead of me writing 1, 1, 2, I'm going to write 4 minus 6, 7. Okay, because I replaced it. Now, without wasting time, the other columns remains the same because we're not changing them. So yes, remains 1 minus 2 and 3. And yes, remains minus 1, 3, and 1. Now remember what we did. Make the numbers of columns to be 5. Now by repeating the first 2 elements. So here becomes the first 2 columns. Yes, it remains, what's it called? 4, okay, minus 6, 7. And then here also becomes 1, minus 2, and 3. Yes. Now you notice we now have 5 columns. Like I said, only repeat the first 2 columns and not the first 3. Okay. Now let us multiply through. We have this. Multiplying the first 3 elements that are diagonally what together is 4 minus 2, 1. Now 4 times minus 2 gives us minus 8. Minus 8 times 1 also gives us minus 8. Now here becomes minus 8 plus. Now 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 7 is 21 plus 21. The next is plus. Minus 1 times minus 6 gives us 6. Because minus times minus is plus. Now 6 times 3 gives us 18. Now we have 18. Then we close our what? Our bracket. Minus. Now from the right to the left again the same way. Now 1 times minus 6 gives us minus 6. Minus 6 times 1 gives us minus 6. Plus. Now 4 times 3 gives us 12. And 12 times 3 gives us 36. Plus. Now minus 1 times minus 2 gives us 2. Because minus times minus is plus. Then 2 times 7 gives us 14. Then we'll close the bracket. Okay, now without wasting time, let us solve what we have inside the bracket. Like I said, minus me you are owing and plus me you have. Now when you are owing 8 naira and then you have 21 naira. When you pay the 8 naira away from from 21 naira, you are going to be left with 13 naira. Okay, now that 13 naira plus 18 naira It's going to give us 13 naira plus 18 naira is going to give us 31 naira. Now, if we have 31 naira, okay, minus 8 plus 21 is 13. 13 plus 18 will give us 31. Okay, now, if we have 31, okay, minus, now, you are owing 6, you have 36. Now, when you pay the 6, you will be left with 30. Now, 30 plus 14 will give us what? 44. And here becomes 44. Now, class, what do we have now? 31 minus 44, class, will give us what? Minus 13. Now, why is it minus 13? Because 44 is bigger than 31. Here becomes minus 13. Okay, now we have solved for change. We have solved for change in n. Now, what do we have left, class? We need to solve for change in n and we need to solve for change in p. Now, let us give the values here so we won't miss it out. First of all, change was minus 13, because of the space on the board. Now, change in n was also minus 13. Now, let us go for what? Change in n now. Okay, let us solve for change in n. Okay, now, solving for change in n. Now, change in n simply means substituting the constants of n with the what? With the constant. The column of n with the constant. So it means, what are we going to change here? We are not going to change the first column because why? The first column belongs to n. We are not going to change the third column because why? The third column belongs to p. So we are going to change the second column and take it away and give the constants there. So writing this down, we're going to have this. Okay, now 1, 1, 2. Okay, now we're not going to write this now, we're going to write 4 minus 6, 7. 4 minus 6, 7. And then what do we have? Minus 1, okay, 3, and 1. Now also again, repeating the first two columns, we're going to have this 1, 1, 2, and 4, minus 6, and 7. Okay, now solving again determinantly, we have this. First three elements diagonally are 1 minus 6, 1. 1 times minus 6 gives us minus 6. Minus 6 times 1 also gives us minus 6. So we have minus 6 plus. Now, 4 times 3 gives us 12. 12 times 2 gives us 24. We have 24 plus. Minus 1 times 1 gives us minus 1. And minus 1 times 7 gives us minus 7. Now we close our brackets. Minus. Okay. Now from the right hand side we have this. 4 times 1 gives us 4, plus 1 times 3 times 7 gives us 21, plus minus 1 times minus 6 gives us 6, and 6 times 2 gives us 12. Then we close our bracket. Now, solving with the one inside the bracket, we're going to have this. Okay, now, remember we have two signs here. We have two signs here. And what are the signs here? Plus and minus. Now, you're not supposed to have two signs between two numbers. So what do? We multiply these numbers to get 1. Now, when we multiply the numbers, we are going to get something like this. Minus 6 plus 24. Plus times minus gives us minus. Then what do we now have? Minus 7. Minus 4 plus 21 plus 12. Okay, remember how do I get the minus? Plus times minus gave us minus. Now let us proceed. Now we're going to have this. When you owe 6 and then you have 24. When you now pay the 6 that you are owing, how much will be left with you? You will be left with 18. Now, that 18 minus 7 will give us what? 11. Now here becomes 11 minus 4 plus 21 gives us 25. 25 plus 12 gives us 37. Here becomes minus 37. Now class, what do we have? 11 minus 37 will give us minus 26. Yes. Why again do we have minus 9? Because 37 is bigger than what? 11. Now we have solved our change in n, and our change in n is minus 26. Let's write it here. Change in n is minus 26. Okay, now what is the last person we're going to solve for? Or what is the last variable we're going to solve for? Is change in p, the last variable. Because we have 3 variables. Okay, now solving this, we have this. You see, it is just like I'm repeating the same thing over and over and over again. But what we are just doing is that we are removing the column for the variable and then substituting it with the constants. This is how it works. Okay, change in p. Now, solving change in P simply means removing the column for P and replacing with your constant. Again, so here becomes 1, 1, 2. Here becomes 1, minus 2, 3. And yet, instead of me writing minus 1, 3, 1, I'm going to write 4, minus 6, and 7. Again, good. We have substituted the constants with the column for P. Now, without wasting time, repeating the first two columns again, we're going to have this 1, 1, 2, and 1, minus 2, 3. Okay. Now, solving again determinantly, we have this. 1 times minus 2 times 7 gives us minus 14. Plus 1 times minus 6 times 2 gives us minus 12. Plus 4 times 1 times 3 gives us 12. Close the bracket. Minus, okay, from the right now, 1 times 1 times 7 gives us 7. Plus 1 times minus 6 times 3 gives us minus 18. Plus 4 times minus 2 gives us minus 8. And minus 8 times 2 gives us minus 16. Okay, now let's continue. We have this. First of all, I have two signs here, plus and minus, which is not supposed to be so. So plus times minus gives us minus. So we're going to have this minus 14 minus 12 plus 12. Okay, minus. Also, I have plus and minus here, and I have plus and minus here. So here becomes 7. Plus times minus is minus 18. Plus times minus is minus 16. Okay, that works. Okay, without wasting time, we have this. When you owe 14, and you owe 12, how much are you owing? 26. And then in this 26 you are owing, you paid 12. How much are you owing again? 14. So here becomes minus 14 minus 7 minus 18 gives us minus 11. Now minus 11 means you are owing 11. And then you borrowed another 16. So minus 11 minus 16 gives us minus 27. Here becomes another minus 27. Now you are going to see that we have two negative signs separating two numbers, which is not supposed to be so. So minus times minus gives us plus, and here becomes minus 14 plus 27. Okay. Now minus means you are owing 14, plus means you have 27. Now when you are owing 14 naira and then you have 27 naira, when you pay the 14 naira, how much will be left with you? 13 naira. Now, why is it 13 carrying the plus sign? Because the money you have is bigger than the money you are owing. Okay, so here becomes 13. Good. So it means, therefore, that our change in P is 13. Now, remember, the question didn't say we should solve for change in M, change in N, and change in P. No. The question says find the values of M, P, and N. Now, how do we get the values for M, N, and P? It is very simple. This is done by introducing the formulas for M, for N, and for P. Now, what are the formulas? Let's go there. Okay, now the formula for solving M is change in M over change. That is all. Now, when you say change in M over change, it simply means change in M. Remember, when we saw change in M, it was minus 13. So I'll write minus 13 over, when I saw change, it was minus 13 as well, over minus 13. Class, when minus comes to us, minus and 13 divided 13, I'm going to get 1. So it means the value of M is 1. Now let's solve for N. Now to get N also, the formula is change in N over change. Now, using the value for change in N was minus 26 over, my change is also minus 13. Now, when minus cancels, minus 26 divided by 13 is 2. So the value of N is 2. And the last thing for P. Formula for P is change in P over change. Now, change in P was 13. And our change was minus 13. And that will give us what? Minus 1. Therefore, M is equal to 1, N is equal to 2, and P is equal to minus 1. So class, this is how you can apply matrix method in solving for simultaneous equation involving 3 variables. I believe you have learned something new today. And please, if this is your first time in our channel, don't forget to subscribe. And for those of my existing subscribers, Please don't forget to share, don't forget to like, and don't forget to leave a comment on the comment section. So we'll meet again in our next video. God bless you.